and we came to the understanding, it was a mutual thing, essentially, that we came to the understanding that, like, this is what's gonna be best, like, for us to still continue to love each other and be there for each other, is to not be in a romantic relationship, because we won't be able to get to that. And
are you going to freely and voluntarily enter into a plea that your lawyers have negotiated on your behalf?
I would like to fuss a little bit, but in order to get out and go here, because it's been 4 years, and I'd love to take my hair off, I'm gonna go ahead and just agree.
Ms. Haddish, I will accept the following plea. Count 1, driving under the influence, let's say, of alcohol. It's a guilty plea. 12 months on probation, 24 hours in jail, but that's called time served, no more jail time. Counts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are going to be no crossed, and that's based on the recommendation from the state.
Now, where the hell did Tiffany Haddish go? Or more importantly, why nobody wants anything to do with her? Common has finally stepped into the chat to explain the spiral Tiffany Haddish has been having ever since she hit the peak of her career. 1 minute, she was one of the in-demand Black actresses, and the next, she's pleading guilty to DUIs with no roles in sight. It's not very often we see an actress crash that fast, and from what Common is saying, it had everything to do with Tiffany breaking her billion-year contract with a certain cult, thinking there wasn't going to be any consequences. And if you thought Tiffany has hit rock bottom, you haven't seen anything yet. Now, I have to say it's been very weird not having Tiffany Haddish all up in our faces like she was a few years ago. She recently pleaded guilty to a DUI after someone found her asleep in her car at a traffic light. Back in 2022, Tiffany also found herself in the middle of a massive scandal after a lawsuit was filed against her and Aries Spears for manipulating and exploiting 2 underage siblings during comedy sketches she filmed, including a video called Through a PDF's Eyes. And now, anytime we see Tiffany's name pop up, there is a higher chance that she's on there because she did or said something problematic than being recognized for her role as an actress. Now, don't get me wrong. She still has some upcoming projects like Girls Trip 2, if it ever comes out, The Girl in the River, and The Lesson. But all the deals and roles that were on the table to take her to A-list status are gone, and most likely never coming back. Granted, she was never actually funny, and you'd have to dig deep to find any comedy set she's done well, but Tiffany was the industry's darling. She was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in 2018 and was listed among the most powerful entertainers between 2018 and 2019. Tiffany also made history by becoming the first Black female comedian to host Saturday Night Live, and she won an Emmy for it. And we can't forget to mention Girls Trip, because the success of that alone had everyone gunning to have Tiffany in their movies. It seemed like she was on track to have major box office rom-com potential. And on top of all that, the media painted everything she did as relatable. They were basically spoon-feeding her to us every chance they got. Girl, it was giving industry plant.
Here's what happens, like you was always, me and my family always say you're funny. You know, as producers, you know, you hire people and you cast people. You were always funny, but you was always on 10, like, and you was just, sometimes you just be like inappropriate. It's like a love scene and you want to sit on the actor's lap and fart. And it's like, no, Tiffany, it's not for this scene. So it was just, maturation hit you. It's like.
Apart from her scandals, I believe the reason why Tiffany has had such a major fall off is because she talks too much. After all, celebrities don't really like anyone who talks about what happens behind the velvet rope. Since she keeps opening her mouth all the time about what she saw at private events, it made sense that the opportunities dried up and the rooms that once welcomed her started showing her the door. But Common doesn't see it that way. And trust, he has dealt with Tiffany firsthand. Mind you, they were in a relationship, and when they broke up, Tiffany turned into a stalker. Hollywood has its fair share of highly problematic and narcissistic actors and actresses who get protected because they're valuable to the system. Even when they had a major scandal, the door was always open to them for a comeback and rise up the ranks. But baby, the thing is with Tiffany is that she can get a bit crazy. And we have only seen what she puts on social media. Imagine what she is like behind the scenes. And get this, one of the reasons Common was so quick to up and leave Tiffany was when he realized that she was in way too deep with Scientology and was really moving around with no knowledge of what she's gotten herself into. Tiffany got caught in the web of Scientology when she was literally at her lowest point. Broke, homeless, and trying to land a meaningful role even as an extra on a low-budget show. She mentioned that someone walked up to her when she was in line for an audition and mentioned that if she came to their center, they could help her get a job and a place to live. I mean, that sounded like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And it's no surprise that she took it.
When I was homeless, I was standing in line at Central Casting to be a background worker, right? And I was living in my car, and this Scientology guy approached me, and he's like, hey, you can come and take these courses, and it'll help you with life and all that stuff, and maybe we can help you find housing. And I was like, shit, I'll go, like, have my own place, and they would give me $50 a month because they would cover all the food and clothing and everything, and so I would need $50 for necessities.
Just enough to buy a little weed.
A little weed and some maxi pads, right?
Yeah.
And so then I say, okay, and you have to sign this contract, like billion-year contract, and I signed it.
They were looking for someone to develop that could connect them to the Black community, and particularly Black entertainers. Mind you, they even tried hard to bring Michael Jackson in through his relationship with Lisa Marie Presley, but eventually gave up on it during his Neverland scandal. They were also successful in bringing both Will Smith and Jada into the cult, but both of them have explicitly denied involvement, even though there is literally tons of proof. So, Tiffany looked like the perfect person to make that happen, since she really didn't have any connections or someone guiding her in the industry. Also, she was desperate enough to go along with anything they said. So when they brought the $1 billion contract for her to sign, she immediately did that because in her mind, she was never going to live that long. However, if you've heard anything that Leah Remini or even Lisa Marie Presley have said about the cult, it is never that simple. It was their own way of making sure that whoever signs it works for them for the rest of their lives, while everything from their career to finances is carefully managed and used for whatever the church/cult needs. Over the years, Scientology has paid special attention to recruiting celebrities, making deep connections in Hollywood, training its members to be handlers, and they have their hands in just about everything in the industry. That's why it looked like Tiffany suddenly went from being a no-name actress to starring in major projects and being in A-list conversations, even when her track record didn't give much to go off. A blind item revealed that in the beginning, Tiffany did try to hold up her end of the bargain and tried to recruit her friends to join without much luck, however. That didn't last long. She started to grow confident in her career succeeding without them and wasn't willing to work for them or fulfill her side of the agreement. Now, a lot of other celebrities who were able to walk away did so because their careers were never fully tied to the church and had been in the industry long enough to maybe forge connections outside that circle. But Tiffany wasn't one of those people. Her career was really just starting to kick off, and the last thing she should have done was piss off an organization that was heavily invested in her life and has the resources to shut her out of the industry. See, Scientology has this thing called fair game, which basically means that if they label you an enemy, all bets are off. L. Ron Hubbard wrote that people who are fair game can be tricked, sued, lied to, and destroyed by any means, especially when the church feels attacked.
Deemed an enemy of the Church of Scientology, they're going to use any mean possible to come after you. And it's just nasty stuff. Again, a religious organization. It's part of the reason why I think they should lose their tax-exempt status.
What do they call that again? They have a word for it.
Fair game.
Fair games. And can you explain what that is?
Fair game is, like I said, it was the actual written policy of the Church of Scientology.
L. Ron Hubbard.
Of
right?
L. Ron Hubbard. I believe that it was in place until, technically, fully in place in writing until like the 80s. And then they said they no longer do it, but they do. And that's where anybody who's been deemed an enemy of the Church of Scientology, You use any tactics possible to come after them. They are fair game.
That's why it felt like the details about her personal life were suddenly put on full blast for the world to see, and all the positive media completely faded away like it was never there. Now, officially, defenders would say that they stopped doing this as far back as the late 60s, but whistleblowers have said that the tactics never stopped. They just stopped using the name and became more covert and knowledgeable in using the media to wreck your reputation and put you in very compromising situations.
That sector of people, a lot of them practice Scientology. And Scientology, that was their thing. They would get people in compromising positions. They'd hold that footage over their head and get them to agree to things.
So when someone like Tiffany starts acting out, refusing to play the game, they know exactly how to isolate and make her look crazy. That's the playbook they run when people step out of line, and Tiffany having scandals made it easier to set it in motion. Eventually, even the role she's holding on to now will completely dry up until she either comes crawling back or gets locked out completely. And even to this day, Tiffany is still out here trying to get Common's attention and even bad-mouthing any of the women he dates. No wonder Common is scared of her. But now I want to hear your thoughts on all this. Did Tiffany make a mistake trying to leave Scientology the minute her career took off? Sound off in the comments and make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, baddies!